Welcome back to Health Before Travel, the channel that helps you to think about your health before your next trip. Today we are going to be talking about the millennials and how they have changed the way that we travel. They travel completely different than any other generation, and they've got a few things that they can teach us and some things that we can teach them as well. Coming up. Millennials are a lot more adventurous than that now, and today we're going to be joined with Alana.
Thank you for having me.
Alana is
a millennial. I'm 28 this year. I love to travel.
Alana's just like right in the middle of it, so she actually has seen and has traveled an awful lot. Sometimes with her friends, sometimes with her family. And so, Alana, please share with us.
Thank you for having me.
Some of the ways that the millennials are actually traveling differently today than what we were accustomed to before. I'll give you an example. We might think that the millennials are partiers. Are they just partiers?
I think I wouldn't necessarily say that we're partiers, but more so we are interested in the night culture that a lot of these places have.
Right.
That they have their siestas, and then at nighttime it really comes alive. And those are things you're gonna miss if you're stopping your night at 10 o'clock. You really have to look and see what else is going on in their culture.
And so when you're planning your trips, is that the kind of thing that you're looking for? Is that nighttime adventure, or are you looking for what things to do through the day as well?
We do enjoy our daytime, but of course you want to sleep in a bit and you want to have the most energy for a prolonged day. So the nightlife does really appeal to us because it goes on and on. You don't have to necessarily be there for a certain time. Sunset is sunset, but the nightlife is all night.
Okay, so the nightlife being something that starts like at 11 p.m. and finishes at 5 a.m. kind of
Those
thing?
are the best ones.
Okay, no, that's great. This is good to hear. So that's one way of traveling, but am I kind of understanding also that when you do travel with your friends that you do an awful lot of things through the day too that are a little bit more adventurous? I guess what we might say is sort of like extreme sports, right?
Definitely, especially when you're in a different culture or a different country. There are things you wouldn't necessarily do in terms of riding a camel or perhaps ATVing in the sand. Those are the things you're not going to be able to do here.
Exactly. So you want to try something different, right? And when you do go on these trips, do you find that is it something that you want to learn more about their culture? Of the place that you're traveling to?
Definitely, culture is really important to us and something we're interested in because there's only so many malls you can go to. There's only so many stores, so much retail, and it becomes repetitive and boring. So you like to go to different places, see what they're doing, how they live, their homes, and also what cultural things they have going on.
So am I hearing you correctly when you said the malls? Is that because that's a very important thing for you to do, is to like when you go on trips that you're actually looking to see where's the best place to shop?
Shopping is definitely something that we like to do, but not necessarily conventional in a mall. There are spice markets. There's different things that you can see besides the conventional shopping mall.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So therefore you want to immerse yourself more in like, what is it different than over here?
Definitely. Going to those smaller off-road behind the big department store, those kind of places is where you're going to see more of the everyday culture versus being somewhere that has all the big brand department stores that we have in the country.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring this full circle right now, and that's just because, this whole channel that we talk about is about safety and travel. And so you just brought up a very interesting point, and that is that it's kind of off the beaten road when you go looking for your night entertainment and also for your shopping. Is there anything that you do and put in place that you're making sure that you're safe?
We definitely like to travel in numbers, and when we see other people who represent the tourist demographic, we like to stay close to where they are, because then we know that this is a good spot to be in.
That is something that that you probably do. Do you find that your friends do the same thing too?
Sometimes I find as though people adjust to how you're feeling. If you're feeling unsure of an area, they'll recognize that and they'll pull from that and say, you know what, maybe this isn't the best idea, because it might not have been their first thought, but once they see that you might be nervous or a little cautious of what's going around, they adjust as well to that.
Are you somebody who would say, Well, hang on a minute.
I'm definitely someone who's going to watch a scenario before I proceed into that area, and I also think it's important that when you're taking cabs in these strange remote areas, that you're aware of where you are and where your hotel is. So don't always assume your taxi driver knows how to get you back. I like to download the maps or whatever the local GPS is of that country, so I can show the driver, this is where I am. They can pull it up and see the area. They might not recognize the name at first, but they might know the street that it's on or something surrounding it. And I think what's also really important is just because you can see something does not mean it's clear. You can be walking a far distance and not realize, oh my gosh, there's a freeway in between me and that building. So it's important to not always try and save money. Take a cab.
You sound like you're talking from experience.
Yeah, I am. There's a lot of pebbles in my shoes from people who have made me walk far distances.
That's good though. That's life's experience, right? What is some of the prep work that you do before you leave? Like you yourself, you're somebody who's actually written for TripAdvisor as an example. Is that somewhere that you would use?
I like to look at TripAdvisor and see what other people's reviews are. Sometimes I like to simmer through them.
If you were to come across a situation where it was a little bit cautious and scary and uncertain if you went to an area, is that something that you'd probably post on some kind of social media?
I would definitely let people know if I went somewhere and I paid money or I had an experience that I didn't feel right about to avoid that happening to anybody else.
If you're going through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TripAdvisor, or any of these review places that it's something that you would pick up on and say, wow, this person said something like, don't go to this area, or don't eat this food, or don't.
It's not always necessarily negative, because I do find as though
No, it has positive
there
too.
is positive.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I would pick a location based on a picture I might see on Instagram. Because they've tagged the location, I'm now able to go see everyone else who has gone there. And that really promotes me to go places based on people's Instagram's photos.
That's good. And so that's the important thing there, is that it's almost like, if you think about sometimes where before when we used to travel, a lot of people got into predicaments in that, and so there was no way except word of mouth to let other people know that they actually were that they encountered this situation. So now with social media and all eyes and cameras everywhere, it's another safety net. I think we can learn so much from that. You can learn so much from the way that it's being done now in a much more safe way. And yes, so fun but different. And it's like nobody's really mapping out and telling you exactly where to go and tours and stuff like that. Not that you wouldn't do one. You guys create your own itinerary, should I say?
Basically, sometimes we just plop down, show up somewhere, and see what's in our surrounding area. We might go stay with a friend and see what's in your area to do that day.
You're just kind of like in the middle. So when you travel with people who are older, but still millennials, is there a difference?
I think there's a difference in terms of location they want to go to. If they have children, I'm at a resort. People without children, we're much able to go longer times of the day. There's no naps stopping us. We can do whatever we want whenever because we're not stuck to a schedule.
That's right. Yeah. And so even the location and their travel would be different.
Yeah,
right?
I find that a lot of people who have children like the all-inclusive. They don't have to
couples.
worry.
What about traveling with couples? Are they sort of a little bit more freer, or is it pretty much the same where they sort of like going to like an all-adult resort or something like that?
Sometimes I do find that still with couples, they still want the same sense of adventure. Okay. They've had enough time together and they want to see other people.
Okay. That's a good point. Yeah. And then just to touch on travel insurance, okay? Because I think that that's a very important thing, and I'm not so sure that a lot of people, and I don't want to just separate the millennials because I don't think that they're exclusive, but I do see a big chunk of them who are traveling let me not say, let me just ask, what do they think about travel insurance?
I think it's definitely who I went on my trip with, all of us have travel insurance. It doesn't necessarily mean that because we have it, we're knowledgeable about it. I just got a policy. It seemed like the right one. It covered me for a year. I go off a lot. I know how many days I can be out the country, but I don't necessarily know what it covers. Where another one of my friends has travel insurance through her workplace.
Right.
Once again, we've never read the policy. We just know that we have it, and when we call for something, then we're pretty much going to find out everything. We didn't do our education.
Right. Okay. So we've covered off a few things here. We've covered off, definitely places that you like to go to. That's the nighttime, the shopping, the different places just in terms of the extreme sports, the travel insurance and that. Now, is there anything else that you want to add to this, just to let people know that it's extremely important when you're traveling? It's something that you definitely want to pay attention to.
I think using a credit card that avoids the 2.5 conversion fee is something that's really important. On top of you using your credit card, it's going to convert into the currency, and then an additional 2.5 just for using your card abroad. So finding a card that doesn't charge you the conversion fee is what I would aim to do.
Well, we shouldn't have to pay more than necessary, right? The millennials are actually saying now, you know what, I want to travel before I settle down. I want to travel before I actually get a mortgage and have kids and that. So I just want to travel, and I want to spend my time and my energy in that. But at the same time, they don't want to go like crazy because they don't have a lot of money, right?
Well, we're very cautious with our money.
And the other thing too is that the amount of research that they do before they go, during, while they're there, and that is really commendable, and that's great. And it's good to see and hear that's happening. There's so many other factors that we want to teach in terms of safe travel, and we want to try and get that across as much as possible. If there is something that we have missed and there's something that you do as a traveler, please leave that in the comments down below and let us know, because we'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to hear your opinions on this, and we look forward to it, and and sure other people would as well. Thank you so much for being with us today. Alana, again, thank you so much. You were great. And we will be back with you next week.